I fell in love with a dead woman. They warned me about love at first sight, but nobody told me it could happen with a ghost. I still remember the first time I saw her. It was a sunny Saturday morning at Mile 12 Market. I wasn't even supposed to be there. My mum had begged me to help her buy ripe plantains before heading to the mechanic. I was already fuming, pushing through the crowd, when I saw her. She stood by a wooden table, surrounded by bunches of plantain. Brown skin, soft eyes, and the kind of smile that could calm a riot. Her name tag read, Flora. She handed plantain. To a customer with such grace, you'd think she was raised in a palace, not a chaotic Lagos market. And that was it. I came back the next day, and the next, pretending to forget things: onions, pepper, even toothbrush, anything to see her again. But Flora wasn't easy. She turned me down 5 times, politely, calmly, almost like she'd seen it all before. "You're not ready," she once said. "Your heart is still noisy." What did that even mean? I didn't care. I persisted. I brought her snacks, helped her sell, even shielded her from market touts. And slowly, something shifted. One day she asked, "Why do you keep coming back?" And I told her the truth. "Because you make this place feel like peace." That was the day she agreed to go on a walk with me. We didn't call it a date, but it felt like one. She told me she lived with her aunt in Alapere, loved folk music, and was scared of thunder. She never had a phone, said it was a distraction. I found it odd, but charming, like everything about her. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. We weren't perfect, but we were something. But that's when the dreams started. It began as whispers. Whispers in my room at night. Soft, chilling voices calling my name. My lights would flicker. My fan would turn off on its own. I'd wake up drenched in sweat with mud on my feet, even though I hadn't left my bed. One night, I dreamed of Flora standing by the lagoon, barefoot, her eyes hollow. "Why did you come for me?" she asked. I woke up screaming. I tried to ignore it. I thought maybe I was just falling too hard, thinking too much. But then things got worse. My neighbor, Mama Titi, an old woman who rarely speaks, pulled me aside one morning. "That girl you walk with," she said slowly. "Where did you meet her?" "In the market," I replied. Her face went pale. "Which market?" "Mile 12. She just shook her head and whispered, "Ah, she's back again." That same day I returned to the market. Flora's plantain table was there, full, fresh, untouched. But Flora wasn't. I asked around. No one had seen her. Some traders even swore they never saw anyone at that stall. One man said, "Bros, nobody they sell for there since that girl died last year." I froze. "What girl?" He looked at me strangely. "One girl like that, quiet, always selling alone. Dem say she fall for inside canal one night during rain. Her body no even complete when dem find am." My stomach dropped. "No," I whispered. "That's not possible." I showed him a drawing I had done of Flora. My art pad always had her face. The man blinked. "Nah, she be this." Since then, my life hasn't been the same. Every time I try to forget, she appears again in my dreams, in the corner of my room mirror, even in reflections of passing buses. She's always looking at me. Sometimes she smiles. Sometimes she cries blood. And the scariest part? I still love her. I stopped going to Mile 12. I deleted the sketches, burned the gifts, threw out the leftover plantains in my kitchen. But the dreams didn't stop. In one dream, I found myself standing in a dim, abandoned house, rotting wood, broken windows, the air thick with mildew and the smell of something dead. A single candle burned on the floor, and next to it, her scarf. The yellow one she always wore in the market. That same scarf showed up in my laundry basket the next morning. I live alone. I tried to pray. I tried to fast. I even booked a hotel for a few days, hoping distance would help. But the second night in that hotel, the receptionist called my room and said, "Sir, your wife says she forgot her earrings. Can she come up now?" "I don't have a wife," I replied. There was silence on the line. "She's already by the door." I froze. I didn't open it. I sat on the floor and prayed till morning. When I got home, my neighbor, Mama Titi, was waiting outside. She handed me a red Bible, thick with dust and tied with a black thread. "She won't leave you," she said, "because you touched her heart when it was already buried." I begged her to explain. She sighed and led me into her home, small, quiet, smelling of palm oil and old incense. She pulled out a folder of old newspaper cuttings. One headline read, "Market girl drowns in storm body recovered days later." Another, "Locals blame river spirits for mysterious deaths in Alapere Canal." The photo was blurry, water damaged, but the smile was unmistakable. Flora. "Flora didn't just die," Mama Titi said. "She was never meant to stay dead. She's Adenkem, one of those who can return if their soul still holds unfinished love." I thought she was crazy, until she showed me the last cutting and obituary page. Date of death, 9 months ago. Date of burial, 3 months ago. Place, Alapere. The same month Flora started talking to me. "Did you ever meet her aunt?" Mama Titi asked. "No," I replied. "She always said her aunt was sick, that I shouldn't visit." "She doesn't have an aunt," Mama Titi said softly. "That house in Alapere? It's been abandoned for over a year." I didn't believe her. But that night, I went to Alapere. I had to see for myself. It was around 7:43 p.m. The road was wet. The wind carried a cold, salty smell, like the sea was watching. The house was exactly how I'd seen it in the dream. Wooden, worn down with faded blue paint peeling off the walls. But what truly chilled me was this: her yellow scarf, hanging on the gate, tied in a knot, like it was waiting for me. I pushed the gate open. It screamed like a warning. Inside, the air was heavier than anything I'd ever breathed. There were no signs of life, no dishes, no curtains, no furniture, just a single stool in the middle of the sitting room, and a picture frame leaning against the wall. I picked it up. It was me and Flora, at the market, but we had never taken a picture. Suddenly, I heard it. Her voice, soft, echoing. "You came." My heart nearly stopped. I turned. She was standing at the top of the staircase, barefoot, dressed in white, her hair soaked like she had just come out of water. "I knew you'd come," she said again. "Because you promised." My legs wouldn't. "Move! Do you still love me?" she asked. My lips opened, but no words came out, because her eyes were bleeding. I wanted to run, but my legs refused. She was standing at the top of the stairs, pale, glowing softly like moonlight on water. Her hair dripped, leaving a dark trail on the dusty steps. Her white gown clung to her, soaked, as if she had just climbed out of a river. "Do you still love me?" she asked again. Her voice didn't echo anymore. It was clearer now, closer. I took one shaky step backward, and the floor beneath me creaked like it might collapse. She tilted her head, smiling gently, like the old Flora I knew. Then something changed. Her smile trembled, her lips split, and blood poured out, not from her mouth, from her eyes, from her ears, even from her fingertips. I gasped. What are you?" She stepped down the stairs, each foot making no sound. "You said you'd never leave me," she whispered. "You said I was the only one." The lights in the house flickered. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I grabbed it like it was a weapon, a missed call from unknown. Then a message popped up on the screen. If you leave, she will follow. If you stay, you belong to her. I dropped the phone. Flora was now standing just a few feet from me. Her skin looked cracked like old porcelain with water dripping from the seams. Her eyes weren't eyes anymore. They were two dark pits, swirling with tiny screams I could almost hear. I loved you, she said. I still do. That's why I came back. I was shaking, sweating, crying all at once. You're not real, I muttered. You're not supposed to be here. She leaned forward, whispering, I'm not the only one who came back. 2 nights ago, while I slept, my window slowly opened on its own. A pale figure, eyes missing, face smiling, entered and stood over my bed. She wasn't alone. There were others, shadows, shapes, spirits with human faces. Some with no face at all, watching me, waiting. Back to present. I never wanted to hurt you, Flora said, but they won't let me go unless I bring someone with me. My blood ran cold. I realized something then. It was never about love. It was a trade. She didn't just come back to see me. She came back to replace herself. That's when I saw the red thread tied to her wrist, leading all the way into the floor. What is that? I asked. She looked down, smiled sadly. It's the promise, the blood oath. Suddenly the walls began to shake. Voices, dozens, hundreds, crying, screaming, chanting in a language I couldn't understand. Flora stepped forward, her feet no longer touching the floor. You said your heart was mine, she said. And now, it is. The candle in the corner of the room goes out by itself. Darkness swallows everything. A single whisper cuts through the silence. Stay. I don't remember how I got out of that house. 1 minute, the room was dark, filled with voices. The next, I woke up on the ground beside the canal, soaked to the bone, with mud on my shirt and a dead rat floating inches from my face. My phone was gone. My wallet too, but tied around my wrist was the same red thread. I yanked it off and threw it into the canal. That night, I didn't go home. I went to a church I barely knew, a rundown building beside a mechanic shop. The pastor didn't ask questions. He just looked at me and said, "You've crossed paths with the ones that whisper from under the river." He asked me to describe her. When I said her name, Flora, the old man dropped the Bible in his hand. You said Flora? Yes. From mile 12? Yes. He rubbed his face slowly. I buried her, with my own hands, 9 months ago. Her aunt begged me to bless the body, even though the corpse wasn't whole. I blinked. But she's not buried. She's with me. No, he said firmly. She's not. The day of Flora's burial, her coffin was closed, her body waterlogged, missing fingers. During the final rites, thunder struck, and the coffin cracked open for a second. People swore they saw her blink. The coffin was resealed. Quickly. The pastor led me into a small room. There were photos on the wall, old ones of smiling women with plantain baskets on their heads. All of them looked eerily like Flora. This spirit has worn many names, he said, but the market is where she feeds. I stepped back. Feeds? She doesn't eat flesh. She eats hope, love, promise. Men like you are her favorite. The room started to spin. He handed me a white chalk and a bottle of thick oil. When she returns, don't run. Mark your door. Keep your back to the mirror. And whatever you do, don't answer her if she knocks. At my apartment, 307. The night was silent. Too silent. I had placed chalk lines around every entrance. My Bible was open to Psalm 91. My hands trembled as I poured the oil in a circle around my bed. Then came the first knock. Knock, knock, knock. Soft, delicate, like hers. I froze, eyes wide open. I didn't move. Then a whisper came from the keyhole. "You forgot my plantains." I almost screamed. Another knock, louder. Then another. Then laughter. It wasn't hers anymore. It was deep, broken, wet. Then the door unlocked itself. The door had unlocked itself. I didn't touch it. I didn't move. I just stared. The knob turned slowly, creaking, almost like a neck twisting in the dark. But the door didn't open. Instead, I heard footsteps. Not outside. Behind me. I turned, slowly, and what I saw next shattered everything I thought was real. It was my mirror. But the reflection was wrong. In the mirror, the room was still. But I wasn't in it. Flora was. She stood exactly where I stood in my shirt, in my space. But she was smiling, calm. Her eyes were whole again. Her dress wasn't wet. She lifted her hand. So did I, but I wasn't controlling it. The mirror was. And then she spoke. Not with her mouth, but from inside the glass. "This was never about love, baby. It was about returning home. And now, you're the door." The lights flickered. Then suddenly, everything flipped. I wasn't in my room anymore. I was inside the mirror. The air was thick like smoke, but tasteless. The colors were faded. My voice echoed before I could even speak. And outside the window, the world was frozen, like time had stopped. I tried to shout, but no sound came out. Then I saw them. Others, men, women, some familiar, some strangers. All of them staring into mirrors from the other side. All of them screaming silently, trapped. Flora stood in front of me now. Her hair floated like she was underwater. Her arms opened. "You made a promise," she said. I remembered. It was the 3rd week we were dating. She had asked, "Would you die for me?" I had laughed and said, "Of course." Now she was collecting. Back in the real world, my body stood still, eyes blank. Flora's spirit wore me like a jacket, smiling with my face, blinking with my eyes. She stepped over the chalk line like it didn't exist, picked up my Bible, closed it, then whispered to the air, "Your heart is mine now." In the mirror dimension, I look out from behind the glass, banging, shouting, unseen. On the other side, I, no longer me, is preparing plantains on the kitchen counter, humming the same tune Flora used to hum in the market. But the face in the mirror, it's cracking, and behind me, other trapped souls begin to gather. One of them turns and whispers, "Don't worry, we all loved her too." The mirror was bleeding. A narrow crack of light opened before me, a final chance to escape the mirror world. But the voices around me were screaming louder now. The trapped souls clawed at the walls. And behind me, Flora stood quietly, watching. Not angry, not violent, just heartbroken. "Leave if you must," she whispered. "But remember, love makes a promise. And promises demand blood." I looked back one last time. I saw her for who she really was. A girl who had died too soon. A soul twisted by loneliness. A spirit who didn't want revenge, she wanted to be remembered. But I couldn't stay, because if I did, my mother would take my place, and she had nothing to do with any of this. I ran. I ran toward the mirror with everything inside me. The moment I touched the crack, I felt something tear, like my soul was splitting from itself. I screamed as I passed through the bleeding frame, and then the church 3:07 AMI landed hard. The church was dark, lit only by candlelight. The pastor and Mama Titi stood over me, both praying loudly, pouring oil on my chest, shouting scriptures. I couldn't speak. My eyes were open, but I saw nothing. My mouth moved, but the voice that came out wasn't mine. He made a promise. She holds it still. My body convulsed. Blood poured from my nose. The pastor slammed a hand on my forehead and shouted, "Every spirit holding this boy, I break. Your covenant!" Suddenly my mouth opened and I let out a sound that wasn't human. A shriek, a wail, something that shook the entire church. The candles blew out, and then silence. 3 days later, I woke up in a white room, weak, dizzy, free. Mama Titi sat by the bed, holding my hand. "She's gone," she whispered, but not without a fight. 1 month later, deliverance retreat. I spent 14 days on a mountain, praying, fasting, vomiting out black threads, seeing visions of Flora every time I closed my eyes. But by the end, the thread around my wrist turned to ash, and I knew the bond was finally broken. Now I avoid mirrors at night. I no longer visit mile 12. Sometimes I see plantain, cellars, and feel my heart twist, but I walk away. Not because I don't love, but because love without discernment can open doors no man should walk through. Flora was real. Her story was tragic. But some souls aren't meant to stay. And I've learned, not every woman who smiles at you in the market is alive.